So, dear audience, great to have you here today. And my today's speech is about digital accessibility and one of my best friend's personal experiences in his life. But to get closer to the topic, I would like to start with a thought experiment with all of you. Imagine the following scenario. After today's conference, you walk out of the conference rooms, and on your way out, you slip and you fall down and break your leg. Now you have to sit in a wheelchair for a whole month, and one day you stand in front of that long staircase, and there's no wheelchair ramp around and no elevator. And just hold on to that feeling, how frustrating this must be to get down there. And this is how exactly thousands of people feel every day when they want to encounter websites with the goal to get information and access to content. And to solve this problem, we developed our iAble accessibility service together with those who are affected and one of our best friends, Leonard. So what are the challenges people facing in the today's digitized world? We saw with COVID that we are so reliant on digital information and content, and websites, and especially web services, are often simply inaccessible for older people and people with disabilities. This excludes many people from today's online world. And besides that, we also have a social and political pressure on digital accessibility. But who benefits from it? First of all, I'd like to say it's each of us. So we all can profit from a better accessibility in digital space. But when we set this into a focus, we look at people with visual disabilities. We look at people who are older and have age-related visual disabilities as well as people with cognitive impairments, like autism or ADHD, for example. So how did we develop all of our service? It all started, like I said before, with a personal experience of one of our best friends. He actually had to break down his chemistry studies in our hometown, and that just because of the simple reason he could not interact with the digital content that was given to him. The reason behind is that he is nearly blind and has got a residual vision of around about 10% left, and he went to his professor and asked him for help, and he said, unfortunately, I cannot help you with this. So he stopped his studies, and we started thinking about, hey, this should not be the case. He should be able to study properly like everyone else can do. And that is where he gave us a connection to the German Institutes of Blind, and I love this word, the so-called Berufsförderungswerke. That's a place where you have people educated with a huge variety of disabilities, especially in IT. And what we did then is we started having interviews whilst our own studies for around about 2 years. And we collected all the problems these individuals had when it was about interacting with websites and web services. All these found problems we converted into a prototype. And after that, we started just finishing our first product, the so-called iAble Assist. The installation of this iAble Assist is actually quite easy. So if you want to implement it into our website, you just need 2 lines of code, and they just have to be copy-pasted into the source code of a website. And afterwards, you're all set and ready to go. The whole service is fully GDPR compliant and data secure. So when we look at legal regulations here in Europe, we have the so-called European Accessibility Act. This is right now converted into national law by every European state member. And for example, in Italy, it's already mandatory to become or to be compliant in the digital space. In Germany, where we are coming from, it is as well for public sector and very soon for commercial sector as well. And what that means is that many companies and institutions have to restructure their intranet environments, their websites. So, for example, also blind people who are reliant on screen technologies have the possibility to interact with the content that is shown there. Now I'd like to give you a short tool live demo of what we are exactly doing, because I told many things about it, but I haven't shown it so far. So, right now when we enter the website, you will be able to see here our iAble Assist. And with it, you have many possibilities to adjust the view very easy and very uncomplicated to your own and individual needs. That means you can, for example, change the font size, which is not comparable to the regular browser zoom, because what this does, it's a combination of zoom, font size, and line height adjustments. We scan all the text elements and enlarge them without destroying the layout at all. we learned in our interviews that the destruction of the layout is in many, many cases a big problem for those who are visually affected, because it's very hard to interact with the website overall. And when the layout gets destroyed, maybe the font size is larger afterwards, but you don't get help out of it. Next, we can adjust the contrast. By default, it will be always the black and white combination, because this has the highest contrast combination possible. But we also learned in our studies, in our interviews, that there is no best contrast combination existing. That means this is a very individual problem. And I've been talking to people who used green and yellow combinations, for example. So we just created the possibility to adjust the view to any existing contrast combination out of the whole color spectrum that you want and need in many cases. Next, we've got functions like blue filters and night modes. Those functions are helpful for each of us, but especially for people with light sensitivity issues. For example, in my team, I've got Michaela. Michaela has intensive light sensitivity problems, and when she's working on a computer, she will need a rest after 2 hours. And the problem is that the screen light is so intense into her eyes that she gets a headache out of it. And that is why she needs a blue filter all the time, and not in that intensity. You can see it here, around about 30% of our blue filter technology is that what you get on your mobile smartphone as well. She will need a blue filter intensity like this, so she can really work properly. And what we see is that she doesn't need a break at all after this, and she doesn't get the headache as well. Next, we've got a very important function, but everyone thinks when I activate these functions of blind people. Right now, it's very important for me to say that this tool and this function does not address blind people at all, because a blind person won't be able to interact with your website at all without having to have any external assistive technology set up. This screen reader is for people who are still able to interact visually, and in many cases also have problems with reading the content. And when we activate this function right now,
web page navigation with voice activated,
we are able just to navigate over the text elements we want to have read aloud.
Exactly the right fit for your industry, culture, and investments.
And as soon as we hover over it, it will load and then read aloud the text. We can now combine this function as well with a tab navigation. And this makes it really easy for us to navigate through all of the website very efficient and very clear. For example, we can directly head to headings, we can directly head to links or lists, and by that it's very easy to navigate through the website without having to have the need of seeing the information given there, and we can just toggle through it. So for example, right now, I'm hopping from heading to heading. And this, in combination with a screen reader technology, gives you the possibility to get all the information read aloud without having to have the need of seeing those. So next, I'd like to do a short experiment with you with our color deficiency modes. We put a lot of love and effort into those, and I just opened up a color deficiency test. So is there anyone in this room who cannot read those numbers shown? So, there is one. So, okay, perfect. Because by statistics, it's actually 5% of the whole population that got a color deficiency or a colorblind. And what we did is we created a function that will invert the whole color spectrum. And by that, you will be able to see the difference between the colors again. It doesn't mean that you can see red as a person without a color deficiency can, but it gives you the possibility to see the differences again. And especially when it's about diagrams, graphs, or products you're looking at, this can be very helpful. And if we activate the function, how is it now? Can you read the number? Yeah? Perfect. Glad to hear so. So we developed that for all color deficiencies existing, for the red, green, and less frequent blue deficiency. And thus, this just gives you the possibility to highlight the difference between all the different colors as much as possible. Next, we've got also the possibility to grayscale the whole website. That is very important, for example, for people with autism. Here, we realized and learned that colors can be disturbing content. And when you just grayscale the whole website, you don't have this distortion anymore, and it's very easy for you to navigate through the website and get to the content you want to reach to. But that all of it is, I'd like to say, only one side of the medal. Because besides of that, you have these legal regulations that make it just mandatory for all of us to create an accessible website as much as possible. And to ensure this, we developed our iAble audit that will give you the possibility to scan through all of your website and will give you an instant report of the actual status of your accessibility. So as you can see here right now, we found 24 mistakes on that landing page, which is not much at all. So I've seen landing pages with 600 to 1,000 mistakes, so that is very good, I have to say. And those are small mistakes like insufficient text contrast. But for example, we also got a missing link accessible text. What does that mean? If you have a blind person that wants to enter that link, they are reliant on the screen reader. And if there is no accessible text behind, they won't have any chance to understand what is shown behind the link and where they will get navigated to. And in many cases, they will simply not click onto it. And here you can see the source code element that you have to take care of. You will see a description of the problem, and you will get from us a tip as well how to fix this problem. Since we know that a website doesn't consist of a single landing page in most cases, and often you have thousands, or big enterprises even got millions of subpages, we developed our iAble dashboard that will give you an overview of the accessibility scoring you've got. So in an interval of like 7 days, 30 days, or once a quarter, whatever you prefer, we will scan all of your website deep down and will give you an overview of the actual accessibility you've got right now. So here you can see the accessibility scoring over time, and it improved, so it got better. Why is that the case? Because the number of errors lowered over time. That shows that, for example, if a content creator deletes or creates a new subpage, this can improve or worsen the accessibility of your website. And with that tool, you can see right away how the person did. Besides that, you can scan all of your subpages and see which of the subpages got the most frequent or less frequent mistakes. And by that, you can see where should I start first in relaunching and creating new content into my website. Besides that, we can also scan PDF documents that are shown into our website. That is very important because a PDF document is in many cases simply not accessible for a person who is reliant on a screen or technology, and then they just cannot interact with the information at all. So here you can see again, for example, with the support technology PDF, you should start first. So now I'd like to get back to the presentation and show you where you can implement all of this. So when you want to integrate an iAble service for your employees, there are many places they can profit of. For example, look at an internet environment or a SharePoint, and as well as the personal space inside of our office. Here you can profit very easy from access to blue filter functions as well as enlarging fonts. So if you want to integrate iAble for your users, students, or for example also customers, we see as well many possibilities besides the website and an eShop. We saw, for example, that one of our employees had big problems buying a ticket at the train station because he's blind and he was not able to interact with the ticket machine at all. So at that time, we had to buy him a ticket. And that is a point where I can see that there is more accessibility needed, and this is exactly where we can help with our services. So just to sum it all up, the benefits of more digital accessibility are that you will simply integrate more people to your digital content and to your information that you've got and you deliver. This will, besides of that, also improve your ranking in terms of SEO, but that's not the reason we are doing this. And as well, when we look at the compliance, it will protect you from costly and image-damaging compliance issues as well. So let's create some more digital accessibility together. If you want to get some special information, which law is mandatory in your country, just come to our booth 28 and ask us. Thank you very much.